Right.
Hello, everyone out there. It's Eliana Raggio again, coming to you live from the Dealer eProcess booth, 4301W from NATA 2024 in Las Vegas. We are broadcasting all darn day. And here with me now is my dear friend, Tyson Jominy. Oh, look at Trevor, and I'm saying he is a dear friend, though. Tyson Jominy is the Vice President of Data and Analytics at JD Power, and we've known each other way too long that I should have gotten your name right on the first try.
Welcome. I'm glad I'm here.
And you said you were the nervous one.
I know.
I'm obviously nervous standing next to my very, very smart friend. So, Tyson, it's been a hot second since you and I have seen each other.
Right.
We kept each other sane during the COVID lockdowns, I will say this.
Right.
We've done our fair share of webinars together.
Right.
You always bring the fire, mainly because he has all the numbers and the data, and I'm kind of a data girl. I like that stuff. So you are great because you go out there and you tell people not fiction, but facts.
Right. Right.
So what kind of facts did you bring us today? Why don't you tell everyone what it is you actually do at JD Power first? We'll start off with that.
Well, I'm the data nerd at JD Power, team that pulls together insights and all the data directly from dealers. And that's what makes our data a little bit different. Is we get it from the DMS, and we use that to figure out retail sales, transaction prices, incentive spend, who's buying, what they're trading in. So we've bin doing this now for last year's our 30th year since we started doing this data. So we've been doing it a long time. We've got amazing insights that we can get from it because we get it directly from dealers and we get it every day. So it's up-to-date information. So it makes me excited. That's why I'm a data nerd. That's all I ever talk about.
I know you put out some really cool reports too, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at this past year, I mean, we saw sales grow about 500,000 in the industry in 2023. We think we're going to see similar growth here in 24, which is good news. We'll talk about. We'll cover that. This is just intro stuff,
Okay, intro.
Can't blow through all of our content at once. So, but yeah, we put out cool reports, and as you guys know, I mean, we've got the trophies, the market research. I mean, you see JD Power, you hear from us, you see it on commercials, so we're kind of everywhere.
I do like the awards. Actually, that actually made me decide not to buy a certain brand.
Good.
And go with a different brand because of the safety.
There we go.
So,
perfect.
I love that JD Power also tracks how much consumers trust a particular brand.
Right.
That is very interesting because I think loyalty is in short supply.
Right. Well, actually, loyalty's been going up.
Really?
Yeah. So a year ago, if we would have chatted, we would have found loyalty was falling. But the difference is that a year ago, nobody had inventory, right? So if someone shows up at your dealership to buy a car and you can't give them the car they want, what are they going to do? Go across the street, right?
I needed a car.
Right.
I couldn't wait around 6 months for a car to get delivered.
I know, right? Right. So now everyone's got inventory. So what we saw actually is that a lot of consumers started staying home and going back to their brands and being more loyal. So loyalty actually grew here at the end of the year, which is exciting for everyone, right? It's about 50%, so we still have a lot of work to do, right? We still have 50% that are leaving us, but it's going up a bit. So a lot of positive stories there, but not everyone went up, but a couple brands jumped crazy big.
Jumped up.
Yeah, jumped. Acura had an amazing hit, along with Honda. They got a lot of inventory, so they started selling a lot more cars at the end of the year. Buick, of all companies, I've never talked about Buick in so long. Buick.
I used to own a Buick, and I love my Buick. I was so mad at my husband when he sold it out from under me.
Buick owners now are staying with Buick. It's something we haven't seen in a long time, so they're starting to come up to. And of course, you get Kia. Kia is an amazing story. Kia has very high loyalty. It's right between Ford and Honda in terms of loyalty, but Kia also brings in almost 2.5 new buyers for everyone that leaves their brand. They bring in 2.5 people to replace them. So amazing story there. So that's everything that's going on loyalty wise.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Didn't I tell you it brings the fire? Okay, let's talk a little bit about Okay, so I said earlier we used to keep each other sane during the COVID lockdowns.
Right.
We always brought some great information about what was happening at that moment in the auto industry. But a lot has changed now that we are past,
Right.
thank God, we're past the COVID part,
Right.
right? So, and I think a lot of, we've done so much, dealers have done so much pivoting. They had to pivot
Right.
during the lockdowns. They had to pivot again
Right.
when we were in the endemic phase. And so now that we're past that and inventory levels are coming up, what should dealers know? What do dealers need to concentrate on in 2024? What's going to help them have 2024 be a great year?
Well, the cool thing about dealers is they're such great business people. As you mentioned, they had to adapt. They had to, in 2020 is so different than 21, which is different than 22. Well, here we are in 24 and it's changing again. So dealers are going to have to adapt again, right? But it's going back to a very much traditional pattern here. Inventory levels are going to rise. We're almost back to normal. I mean, we're getting up to over 2 million units on the ground. Incentives are coming back from automakers. The deals are coming back. I mean, during the peak of the supply chain crisis, we saw almost 2/3 of vehicles were selling above MSRP. Well, now that's down to 15%.
Oh.
So the deals are getting more aggressive, and dealers may be saying, "Oh, I'm not so sure about that," but the profitability is still very high.
And we love that.
Right.
We
Exactly.
love that for our dealers.
Right. So we're still going to make a lot of money. It's not going to be our best year. I mean, last year will be better than this year, but overall, it's still fantastic. They're going to make a lot of money, and we're going to sell more cars this year. We're going to sell another 500,000 more cars. So while our margins are coming down, we're going to sell more. It's not going to quite offset, but we are still going to make a ton of money this year. So dealers are going to have to pivot, but we're getting back to what we used to do, which is selling cars.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. You and your team and your data, correct me if I'm wrong, please. Don't you also, assist the OEMs with that kind of data so that they can decide what kind of incentives they should or shouldn't do? Is that true?
That's primarily what I do. Is I take the data we get. All of our information comes from the DMS systems from the dealers, and we aggregate it. And we use that information to report back to automakers what's selling, where is it selling, and to who, to help automakers make better decisions. The last thing we want is for automakers to send a bunch of two-wheel drive vehicles to Boston and a bunch of four-wheel drive vehicles in Austin. Like, we don't want that, right? We want to make sure the right vehicles are getting to the right place. So we use our data to help inform automakers to make better decisions.
So we haven't had a lot of OEM specials, incentives in the last few years, obviously, for obvious reasons. We didn't have a lot of cars. Do you think that's going to change in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, we're expecting more incentives. One thing we've been missing a lot is lease. And so we're going to see a lot of return of leasing in this year. We're starting to see some brands get back close to pre-COVID lease levels, but not everyone. We were at 31% lease pre-COVID.
I know, it was so on the rise, and then COVID changed it.
Right, but now we're like 21, 22%. And that's up from where we were, but we still have a ways to go. We're going to see a lot of that coming back. Another incentive we don't have in the market right now is cash. We have no cash out there. The average vehicle gets like $300 of cash right now. So as inventory rises, we're going to start to see a lot more cash incentive come back. And that's one thing we're missing. I mean, if you want to close deals, I mean, the dealers listening, they know cash helps close deals. And so as it's going to be more competitive this year, we're going to start to see cash come back in, and that's going to help sales as well. Okay.
I really wanted to ask you this. We didn't talk about this in advance, so I'm hoping, Tyson, you will not disappoint me on this.
I don't know. I cannot promise I won't disappoint you. I can only promise I'll try.
That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Are you surprised by the rise in EV sales and how it's kind of left off right now? Like, what do you think when it comes to EVs? What's your opinion on that? Is there any data?
All we have is data. So you said EV sales have leveled up. Well, they haven't. EV sales last year were up almost 50%, which was the year before EV sales grew 52%. Last year they grew 48%. So we almost had the same amount of growth. But the difference is that we have 51 EVs for sale in the market now. And
really, that many?
We have 51 different EVs. And the problem is that, though, they're all priced at like $55,000. So if you're a consumer, you can get a Kia or you can get a Cadillac EV. And I mean, normally those two are never competing against each other, but everyone is in that $50,000 to $60,000 price point. So we have 51 EVs and they all went to that same price point. And so it's like we're all like stacked up on top of each other, which has made it very hard. And as a result, profitability on EVs has fallen very quickly. It's basically zero now on the front end sale of EVs because there's too many EVs at that price point.
Okay.
We have demand, but it's at lower price points. We have to get
But
lower
can they
EVs.
afford to go to a lower price point?
Well, the dealers know
EVs
this
are
is
still very, very expensive.
right. They are.
Especially that battery, right?
Right. This is on the automakers to provide lower price EVs. And we'll see that. Volvo EX30 is coming out, a fantastic subcompact SUV that's an EV. It goes 300 miles. So it has the range, and yet it's cheap. It's going to be like a $30,000 EV. And it's a Volvo, so it's going to be luxurious. They did some amazing things on the inside with it. So
Wait, you've seen it?
yeah, I've driven it.
What?
Yeah, it's cool. I went.
Is that a perk
Oh,
that you get that the rest of us peons don't get?
I went to Barcelona to drive it. Yeah, it's a perk.
Okay.
So that's coming, right? So it's incumbent that the industry bring in lower price EVs to where the market is. There's more demanded at a lower price. So we've tried that $50,000 to $60,000 price point. We've tapped out that. We now need to start getting into the 40s and certainly into the 30s.
That is very interesting news. Now I know from our previous talks that you have an unmet love affair with minivans.
Yes.
You still have that?
Well, I have 3 teenagers, so anything associated with them is starting to be a little bit under pressure.
Okay.
I love my kids, of course, but I now have at least 3 people that know they're smarter than me in my house. So that's minivan now is maybe a little too close to home for that. But yes, absolutely, I love minivans. They're such a great solution. Still,
but you also measure the amount of market share that each different kind of.
we have, but no one has asked about minivans in a long time. They're so I know.
So funny.
But I know, as a huge minivan fan, there's so few of them now. The minivan share of industry now is probably less than 2%. I haven't looked. You got me. You got
EVs
me.
are higher than minivans.
Oh no, not even close. Yeah, EVs. Yeah, EVs were 8.4% last year. End of the year, almost at 10% EV share. And it should go up from here as well. So EVs. I mean, if we took EVs and made it their own segment, okay? Yeah. Put them all together in one thing and compared that, it'd be the number 6 segment in the industry. So we act like they're not selling.
Okay,
well,
so
they are.
Pickup trucks and SUVs are still at the top of the heap, right?
Right, the various forms of those, and then you get EVs.
Yeah.
They'd be number 6 overall, behind a couple pickups, a couple SUVs.
All right, station wagon's still alive and kicking.
No
one cares.
Right,
honestly, no one cares about station wagons.
We don't care about convertibles anymore. No one makes a good convertible. You cannot find. I'm sure you did, but they're not cheap, right? I mean, BMW, Mercedes. What convertible did you get?
Mercedes E450.
See, I knew. Did I call it? I feel like I called it.
We've only known each other like 10 years.
But there are only a few companies make convertibles anymore. I mean, you talk about Camaro's out of market, so you can get a Mustang, but there's no cheap convertibles really besides Mustang anymore. Maybe you say
I love my
Wrangler.
convertible.
Right, but no one buys them. Convertibles are 0.5% share of industry. No one wants them.
Okay,
it's so bad.
Good. I didn't say I wanted to be like everyone else. It's all right.
You are in the 99.5 percentile.
Finally. What do you drive? Are you allowed to say?
I am allowed to say. Well, I have a Wrangler. I have a Miata convertible.
I've had both of those cars, by the way.
And I have a Tesla. But
we're gonna try and cut that out of the live broadcast. No, we can't.
No, we can't. But I just want to say, I talk about EVs all the time, and I'm eating my own dog food. I bought an EV to make sure I understand what I'm talking about, so I'm not out here just saying crap. I know what it's like to have one.
No one ever accused Tyson Jominy of not knowing what the heck he's talking about. I'm just going to tell you right now. All right. Anything new that we should know about before we sign off with you?
I am so optimistic about 24. Sales are going up. Prices are getting more competitive. There's no recession overhang. Last year, it was like, oh, we're going to have a recession. It's like, we don't have any of that.
No, it's an election year.
Right.
Of course, there's no recession.
Right. Interest rates are going to be falling. They've already started to fall a bit.
Oh, thank God.
Trade values are coming down for consumers. They still remain high. But so overall, I'm very optimistic. I think we've got a great year in front of us. It won't be a record profitability year, but it's going to be extremely strong for dealers.
Yeah, you heard it right here from Tyson Jominy at JD Power. Hey, what's your booth number? Just in case people are out there and they want to come and see you.
Damn if I know.
All right, you're going to have to look that up because I don't know either. Okay, so
And
for
we're
right
out.
now, we're gonna sign off right now with Tyson Jominy. Next up, we have April Simmons from the Horn Automotive Group stopping by. She's gonna tell us what is going on the dealership side. But for right now, this is Eliana Raggio signing off from the Dealer eProcess booth 4301W from the Las Vegas Convention Center, NATA 2024. We'll see you soon. Stick on. Bye.